By now, you've probably heard my magic wand story. It's a brand that's been part of my personal journey for more than 20 years. But no matter how many times I sing Magic Wand's praises, I'll never be able to fully capture the story of this incredible brand. Well, now journalist and author Kate Sloan just completed a limited audio series documenting the history and impact that Magic Wand has created over the last 56 years. It's called Making Magic. And the series chronicles Magic Wand's incredible brand story through interviews with nearly 40 experts, performers, business owners, educators, and fans. So I got a sneak preview of the series, and what I loved is that Kate weaves together snippets from all their interviews into this amazing story arc. She covers Magic Wand's journey from appliance store massager to its legendary influence on culture and sexual independence, and it's all just fascinating. The first episodes of Making Magic are available now at makingmagicseries.com or on all popular podcast platforms. Just search for Making Magic or visit makingmagicseries.com today. You're listening to Sex with Emily. I'm Dr. Emily, and this July we are celebrating sexual liberation. Well, part of that for us means reclaiming the sex life you want, how to build your self-confidence in and out of the bedroom, finding new ways to communicate with your partner, especially around who initiates, and how to focus on enjoying the moment instead of your performance. We'll get into that and more. Stay with us. I took a COVID test today, and it was weird. Like stick something in your nose, but it's kind of awkward. Remember that initiating sex is actually a skill and a habit. And if you don't have either one of those or experience with it, it's not going to naturally occur to you. You might already have a built-in mechanism that's like, well, this isn't a good time.
Look into his eyes. They're the eyes of a man obsessed by sex. Eyes that mock our sacred institutions. Bedroom eyes, they call them in a bygone day.
4th of July is coming up. So what we're going to be talking about a lot this month is how are you celebrating your sexual liberation, your individual empowerment to be a sexual being. So expect a lot of ways to kind of mix that up and to kind of challenge yourself, challenge your relationship to become even more sexually liberated, wherever you're at, with a partner, with yourself. Because listen, we might be at home this summer, but I'm still going to be here from my home talking to you and helping us all make it through this time with a lot better loving, a lot more loving to ourselves and to others. All right, so this is from, you guys can send your questions to feedback@sexwithemily.com. Hey, Dr. Emily, my question for you. Other than having sex conversations with my significant other, what are some ways to help me and my significant other be more intimate with each other? We both have busy jobs, and recently it's affected how we have sex with each other because I want her to express and see how sexy I know she is. Is this just communication between us? Is there something I can do to help her? So I believe what you're saying here, Scott, is how do I get her to be more into sex and how to initiate sex is what I think you meant here. First off, you said that you're having sex conversations with her. What you're really craving is intimacy. So I just want to say that I love that you know that about yourself because I think ultimately, if you look at it, that's what a lot of us crave. I mean, sure, we want to have sex. We want to have the orgasms I spoke about and have the feel-good hormones. And so it sounds like what you might need to do, and this goes for everybody, is that we have to be really specific when we make a request to our partner about something that we want, especially when it comes to intimacy and your sex life. And so maybe you want her to initiate more. Here's the thing about initiating. There is one partner that always initiates more than the other. And the big thing I hear from people is, how do I get my partner to initiate more? But just telling your partner, for example, you never initiate. Why don't you initiate sex? You know, I really wish you would initiate more. Rarely does that work. And what happens is that one partner becomes resentful because they're waiting, like, I told you to initiate. And the other partner heard it and then thought, I don't know when, or, you've always, in their head, they're probably thinking, oh yeah, that's a good idea. But remember that initiating sex is actually a skill and a habit. And if you don't have either one of those or experience with it, it's not going to naturally occur to you. You might already have a built-in mechanism that's like, well, this isn't a good time to initiate, or oh, I'll do it after dinner, or I'll do it on Saturday. And since it's something new, it's your edge, it might not happen. So I believe that in a relationship where you're talking about sex and you have a good relationship in all these other areas, that your partner really does want to please you. And if they said yes, they'll do it. They likely want to. But remember that you might need to paint a picture for them about what that looks like. So for example, Scott, if you want her to initiate more, you might just need to say to her, you know what? I'd really love if you brought sex to the table. And here's what it looks like. And so this is where we have to give an example. So Scott, you might feel like, you know what? I can't believe she doesn't know that. And doesn't mean she's never turned on. But listen, it's well documented that women have more of a responsive arousal, meaning we respond to stimuli. Someone coming, seeing something, maybe our partner starts to touch us or cuddle us, and then we get in the mood. But for men, it's more spontaneous, right? So you see your wife and you get an erection. Like it's literally a spontaneous, external, you are turned on. But since it's different for women, it might, especially in your relationship, not all, but it might take a little bit more explanation. So you could say to her, I would love it if you initiated. So the next time, give an example. After dinner, I'd love you to come over and start kissing my neck, the back of my neck, and put your arms around me and do that thing that you do. It could just be one thing like that will signal to her, oh, this is going to signal to you that I'm trying to initiate sex. And then you got to go roll with it. It might not be perfect. It might be clunky. But what isn't when we're learning a new skill, right? We're never just like excellent at it out of the gate. And taking it from somebody who I had to learn it because I was always having partners initiate, I was like, this is something that I do not do. And it wasn't because I didn't want sex. I just knew it was going to happen. And if it didn't happen sometimes after I'm with someone I'm like, okay, we just watched TV or we did our thing. But I had to have a partner say to me, you never initiate. I was like, God damn it. Am I that person? I also am not initiating in a relationship, and this is my job to tell everybody else to do it. And so I had to hear it. First I'm like, I do. And I thought, oh God, I really haven't lately. And so I just, I really thought about it. And even for me, it is my expertise. I had to think about it before I went to his house. Like, okay, so I'm going to wear this thing. And it was really great for me personally because tell me if this is familiar. I had all these things that I had bought that made me feel sexy. I had like this really beautiful, like black bodysuit that had lace on it. And I had this satin, like I'd splurged on it to wear sometime. And I never was in the mood or I'd forget. And I was like, okay, I'm going to wear this bodysuit. I'm going to bring over, I always did this, but like my favorite sex toy or something, whatever it was, whatever I had to try for work that week. And I went there with the intention that I'm going to, initiate this. I'm going to make it happen. And so that's how I started doing it. I really just like walked in the door and I just didn't get distracted because that's another thing I would do. And I'd be like, oh, I'm hungry or we want to catch up about our day or let's do something else. I even remember feeling like, okay, this is going to be a little bit new for me in this new relationship. And it felt really empowering. And it was just a really, and then I liked doing it. I was like, okay, I'm going to do this more. And so we all know how. It's not that we don't know how. It's that it's vulnerable. Perhaps we're afraid of feeling rejected. I remember this woman I met at a conference and she came up to me and she said, you know what? She said, she'd been married for 20 years. And she said, I never initiate. And I didn't realize why. And I was teaching in a workshop and she said, it was something that you said. So she'd been listening to the podcast and came to a workshop and she said, I realized that 20 years ago, when I first got together, my husband and I were newlyweds, she said, I went upstairs and I came down in this like beautiful underwear, like panties and a bra and like garters, which if you've ever worn those, like you don't just whip them on. There's like an awkward clip in the back and in the front, and then there's like a seam, and you have to make sure that they don't look awkward because you can't be sexy if the seam is twisted. And they're never even. I mean, we don't just like throw it on and feel sexy. It takes effort. So she's like, I did the whole thing and I put on my lingerie and I put on my best body oil and I walked down the stairs and he was sitting in the study and he was working and he looked at me and I came down. She's like, I've never ever put myself out there. And he just looked at her and went back to his work. Like he said, I'm still going to finish up here. And she felt he completely ignored her. And she felt so broken from that moment and so vulnerable and so rejected, even though it was her husband, that she said, for all these years, I never tried again. I never initiated again. I mean, this is the thing about our habits and our behaviors. It just takes one thing. Like sometimes it's one rejection. It's somebody criticizing our body, someone telling us we're not a good kisser, or, we're not good in bed, anything, or criticizing our body. And it just can hurt us so badly in the moment that we completely shut down. We integrate that into our body. So that becomes part of our, in a way, it's like a trauma response. I mean, for her, I would say that was like a trauma. It was like an event that's totally changed the rest of the course, of the relationship. And she said that she was finally able to, I can't remember if she released it listening to the podcast or she came to tell me about it, but she said like she, was able to now, bring it up, and she felt like he didn't remember. I think he didn't remember that moment because of course he wouldn't. I mean, he felt so bad. He was like, if I had known or I remembered, he probably had a deadline for work. He was stressed out. You know how it is. I've been there. I don't see what's happening when I'm at the computer and I'm caught up. And so, what this points out is a lot of things, not only about initiating sex, but that there could be something that happens in a moment, in a flash. And we feel vulnerable. We feel rejected, compromised. And we just go into we do what we always did, right? Maybe we were criticized as a child, criticized in high school. Something happened and we either shut down, we retreat, we get anxious about it. And so if we don't feel safe, that we're in a relationship where we feel safe, dealing with conflict and bringing it up to our partner, there's like a very fine line. There's like a moment there where you're like, I'm just going to take this. It's very familiar. I'm being ignored. I'm not being seen. And if I had her here, I would say to her that that's probably a familiar scenario. Maybe her dad came home from work and never, she felt very unseen, or maybe she was always looked over for, something in school. And as a result, that something can happen that mimics that very early experience, and we just do the same thing. And so the trick in a relationship, in any kind of relationship, I mean, this could happen at work, with a friend, is that you, in that moment, where you realize that something's happening, and this is like a somatic experience, you can learn to kind of feel these things in your body sometimes, like this is my anxiety feeling, this is my breath quickening. You can stop and say, oh, it's that thing. I'm feeling uncomfortable. What is it? Oh, it's the way I just felt unseen. And then you could turn to your partner and say, maybe it's not even in that moment. It could be the next day, but not 20 years later. You say, when you guys are in my rules for communicating about things that are challenging are the same across the board. Timing, turf, and tone. You want to make sure that it's the right time, you're in the right place, and you are doing it with the right tone. And the right tone is always, 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 always leading with curiosity and calm and just sort of, hey, let's have a conversation about something, I just want to talk to you for a minute. Maybe you're going for a walk or you've just finished a good meal. You can say, last night I came down the stairs and I was really excited because I had put on this thing that made me feel really sexy. And I noticed you were at your computer and you looked at me, and the way you just turned back around, it made me feel really unseen, or like you didn't find me sexy anymore. And imagine if she had said that to him, and no one can argue with your feelings. So first off, what I'm saying is you don't want to say, you never look at me and you ignore me, but just when this happened, it made me feel blank. That is just communication 101. Now, nobody can argue with your feelings. You can't say you didn't feel that, right? And so then in the moment there, he could say, well, I don't remember that, or I didn't see it. I mean, sure, I'm not saying they're all going to go, it's going to be an easy conversation, but what could happen after that, he might have said, oh, wow, I didn't even see you, which could feel bad, but that's just at least your answer. He didn't think you didn't look sexy. He didn't think you looked ridiculous, because that was part of it. She's like, maybe I looked ridiculous, or he knew I gained weight, or he wasn't attracted to me anymore, right? We go to there. We think, I'm being rejected for sex. My partner just rejected my advances. And so therefore I am not lovable. I'm not attractive. But he would have said, oh, babe, no, I would please. Like, maybe he would have said, I'm so sorry. Let's show me right now. I had that deadline. I was talking to my, whatever. I had something going on. And that's how you repair. Like that's when we talk about repair in a relationship. And I believe that relationships are not actually about perfection and about getting along all the time. In fact, if you're in a relationship, you're like, we never fight. There's a problem. If you never have conflict, they're not about perfection. They're about repair. They're not about everything being great. They're about how do we repair when we get into a fight or an argument? How do we communicate? Like, how do we resolve conflict? Because that should be literally your if you don't have those skills right now, you don't know how to repair an argument or talk about your feelings, that's where your focus should be. And once you learn, it's a skill, right? It's like it transfers to every other area of your life. It transfers to sex conversations, your work conversations, everywhere. So Scott, there's your answer. We're going to take a quick break, but stay tuned for more Sex with Emily. Let's talk to Kyle, 21 in Tennessee. Kyle, what's going on? Thanks for calling.
Hi. How you doing?
I'm great, Kyle. Good to hear from you. What's going on?
So I've been seeing this girl for a few weeks now, and I really think she could be the one. And we haven't had the chance to have sex yet, and I feel like every time we get there, I get real nervous, and I feel like if I don't please her, she may not want to stay with me, and I just need to figure out like how I can calm these nerves and just be myself with her.
Okay. Wait, what has happened so far? Or nothing? You haven't seen her yet?
Well, we've gone on a few dates. When we go back to the house, we start to get serious, and every single time, like I get too nervous. I feel like I'm not going to be able to perform to her standard because she's really pretty, and it's like I can't live up to those expectations.
And then what happens?
I kind of pull out, and I don't keep going and keep playing with her.
You just got to go in with the notion, like, I'm going to make her feel good. I'm going to please her and see what she wants.
Should I go down on her for a while to start? Just to kind of maybe calm the nerves? And
absolutely, Kyle. This is what I always recommend.
Like I'm not going to please her.
Yeah, exactly, Kyle. Listen, whenever you're in your head, that's exactly what's happening. But I promise you, there is nothing like getting your confidence. Because you're talking about confidence. And Kyle, just know that no one at 21, the guys who think they're confident at 21, I'm telling you, if I could go back to my 20s, they didn't, it's like a false confidence. Like, yeah, women like when I pound away at them and that feels good, I'm telling you. So you just haven't had enough years on the planet yet of having sex that you would feel confident. So just know you're where many people are at your age. So you're not like behind the eight ball. There's no problem here. It's just like, it's a new thing and she's a new partner for you. So you're always going to lead with giving, especially when it comes to sex. So if you go in and you're like, I just want to look at you. I want to undress you. I want to go down on you. I want to finger you. I mean, ask her what turns her on. And then once you are pleasing her, that's how you get your confidence up. You're like, oh, I got this. You know, she's feeling good right now. And then you'll be more focused on her pleasure. And then you won't have been in your head the last 15 minutes getting undressed and then worrying the same thing's going to happen again. So absolutely. Yeah. And also we know that you get nervous, especially like in our 20s, like guys are nervous. Women are nervous too, but they don't have to perform like men do. They feel like show up, have an erection. You know, it happens, Kyle. So I think and if it happens and you start to get nervous again, just say, you know, I want to take a few deep breaths here. Like, I think you're so hot. I mean, telling you to keep telling her how hot she is and how attracted you are and you just want to please her, take a beat, it's okay. But I would ask what feels good to her.
So next time I get in my head, I'm just gonna go through and look at her and just do everything I can. I'm gonna go down on her and just pleasure her until like I get the confidence to get in there.
Yes, exactly, Kyle. That's what you're going to do. That will work. I'm telling you. It's also a beautiful resolution here for the whole thing, because I'm telling you, typically women, take longer to get aroused than men. So that's why, one of the best books about sex, which you could order it right now, it's called She Comes First. And it's a great book written by Dr. Ian Kerner, renowned sex therapist, like 20 years ago. And essentially, it's not just because women first, women are better. It's like literally the way we are built, right? Our genitalia are such that there's an orgasm gap. It can take women 20 to 40 minutes to have an orgasm, get aroused. But for men, Kyle, you get turned on and you're ready to go.
Oh, yeah. I get aroused faster than anyone I know. It's insane.
Kyle, yeah.
So, that's so true.
That's what happens. That's what's up. So this is just totally normal, typical, and you're exactly where you need to be at 21 years old. And in fact, men don't know this at 40.
Thank you so much, Emily. Thanks for having me on for Sex with Emily.
Yeah, Kyle, thanks. Call back. Let me know how it goes. I'm here for you every night. Let me know, okay? This is what I love, is that now I want to hear, right? I'm invested in Kyle now. Look, we just sent him off into the world to be a great young lover. It's July. I know we're going to be talking about, how you can sexually liberate yourself this month. Different things you want to try. Make it interesting. A lot of us aren't going far from home. Like literally. You might just be taking out the trash this weekend. So in the spirit of Independence Day, I want to focus on sexual liberation all month. What does it actually mean to be sexually liberated? So before you can even liberate from your sex life, or to liberate yourself sexually, you have to think about what is my relationship with sex right now, with my partner, with myself. Do I still have a lot of shame, body shame, or shame around even being a sexual being, a sexual person? Maybe there's been some trauma that you've gone through that hasn't been resolved yet. I mean, all these things that I'm saying too, and talking about open relationships, again, I should have said this caveat that, of course, if one of you in the relationship isn't in a healthy place, you haven't done work on trauma, you are still feeling a lot of shame around it, you haven't been able to even talk about it. If you've never talked about sex with your partner or explored, you don't just open up with a let's swing this weekend, let's have a threesome. There's some more groundwork to do. And that's what sexual liberation is about, is that I'm going to be giving you tools all month long, but also just even right now to think about it, to kind of put it, but what do I mean by it? Where are you feeling closed off? Where are you stuck right now? Where are you feeling that sexually you could use a little bit of work? You could say, I've always wanted to try this thing or try something with my partner, but, maybe I haven't gotten up the courage yet. Is there something you've always wanted to try, but you haven't gotten up the courage yet? Where are you stuck right now? Where can I help you liberate sexually? Now, maybe you are with yourself and without a partner now, or maybe it's a lifestyle. I feel like I'm in that lifestyle right now. I'm in a lifestyle without a partner. And where could I liberate you around self-pleasure? Where can I liberate you around masturbation or fantasies or things that you've been wanting to try? Because we have a lot of time. I said this at the beginning of COVID, but now we're going on like month 28 or something. It's like we've got time to actually explore right now. All the things I talk about opening up sexually and masturbating, to liberate yourself sexually. How do you want to touch yourself differently? Maybe it's time to buy a toy. Sex toy market is booming right now, by the way. It wasn't just a notion. It wasn't just a hint. It wasn't just maybe people buy more sex toys. They are certifiably saying, this is the time. I can't invest in a bunch of new other things right now, but I'm going to invest in my pleasure. And that's what I want you to do right now. Even if it's not buying anything, you don't have to monetarily invest in your sex life, but you can say, I'm going to invest in changing up the way I think about my sex life. I'm going to liberate myself from the sexual jail I've been living in my entire life, the last few months, however long you've been in a place where you don't feel that you deserve the pleasure. The pleasure is not your birthright, because I believe it's all of our birthright. Like pleasure is our birthright. We all get to to explore. We all get to experience more joy in our life. And I don't think that we do that enough at all. And sex is like something that we can all do. We can all please ourselves at the very least. We can all, orgasm is actually, it's healthy. It's good for us. Boosts our mood, our immune system. And I think we could all use a little immune boost. So liberating could also mean, okay, so maybe you're like, Emily, I got no hangups. We're good. We're good. We're healthy. We're having sex regularly. Maybe you just want to talk to your partner about, how do I explore toys right now? How do I want to play with some anal sex. I want you to anally penetrate me. I want to explore some BDSM, some dominant submission, some role playing. What is holding you back from that happening? I just want to know. I'm actually really curious why we're not going there. Like, what is it? So we're going to declare sexual independence. And we do this during masturbation month, but I think we should do it now, just even with my team, if they're so willing to speak up. What could you do? And all the things I just said to you, is there something that you thought, a light bulb went on, you thought, I'm going to liberate myself sexually this month, and I'm going to blank. That's a good point. I'm going to tell my partner what I want this month. That I think that we should blank. Who wants to speak? Oh, Amanda. Tell me, Amanda. Hi.
What I struggled with is caring too much about what I look like during sex and focusing on like the faces I'm making or what my body looks like, or just being so preoccupied with that I totally forget to enjoy the moment. And so that's something I really want to work on, is not performing, but experiencing.
Thank you for sharing that, because I think that is so relatable. Is that something that you have been thinking about for a while, Amanda, or did just...
Yeah, I think it was something I kind of just grew up thinking, especially in high school and college. I just put so much emphasis on using sex to make my partners like me more, or to like get them to want to be with me. It seems more like a tool for validation.
Yeah, performative.
And as I got older, I was like, no, that's not how it has to be.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It's so relatable. I think that, and also I was socialized that way too, that it was about, we don't want to make this weird orgasm face, or we want to make sure that we look good and we're like, everything's shaved and in place. Or we look at porn and think, well, that's how it's supposed to happen and stuff. So what do you think you could do? What could you do, you think? What would be a first step? Or I could also help you think about it, but I think just saying it is the first step. But
yeah, of course
mindful.
Yes, mindful. I think that was one of the big things, that even just like developing a yoga practice and like learning that mindfulness was a thing was really helpful, because then I could kind of hone in on my body and like really enjoy and be present in my experience. And then once I realized that actually enhanced the connection, because a partner worth being is going to want you, a partner worth being with is going to want you to enjoy yourself. So that helps a lot.
Yeah, no, you're right. That's so true, is that we think, because we have no other place to learn this, that it's all about appearance. What's another thing that's wrong with our culture is like in societal norms, that we'd have to look a certain way and feel a certain way. And then if we've only seen porn, we have all these ways that we think we have to be, but no one tells you that actually the people who are like you, Amanda, if you're having sex with somebody, that when you actually get past all that and you're really in your body and you're really experiencing pleasure and you don't give a shit who's watching, who's seeing you, you are truly in your body, you're embodied. Mm-hmm. That is the sexiest thing on the planet. And you don't even, and once you were able to get there, what I found is on my own, I actually think it's a good weeding process, because let's just say a partner said, oh God, you really had an orgasm there. You were really into it. I'd be like, yeah, I was that. Like, there's judgment. I'm like, I'm so glad you did that, because you were out the door. For example, like if someone judges you for that, or they're not your person. And I don't even know that people consciously know that, but I think the lovers that you'd want to be with, Amanda, and I'd want to be with, would be the ones that would just, that had a heart, that just responded to it and were like encouraging that and saying like, I love that you love sex so much, or that you're so into your body. That's so hot, right? You get that kind of encouragement. But Amanda, were you ever with someone that had maybe shamed you, or was there anything that ever happened where you felt, because I know I've had guys, oh, your orgasm face, so you're really loud. I'm like, yep, you better tell your neighbors, yeah. So.
Yeah, what's funny is I don't think so, which is interesting to why that idea sort of manifested in my head. I think maybe when I was younger, like in college, I was shamed for not like shaving my legs, which is ridiculous. But it's something that with age and experience that I've really started to try to take control over. And it's still on my mind for sure, which is why I think this month of sexual liberation, that's going to be an intentional focus of mine.
I love it. Thank you, Amanda. Happy 4th of July. All right, Business with Emily. Find me Monday through Friday from 5 to 7 p.m. Pacific on SiriusXM Stars for even more awesome sex talk, calls, and segments. It's a great time. You can find more at sexwithemily.com/SXM. Also, follow me on all social media. It is Sex with Emily across the board. Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. Was it good for you? Email me feedback@sexwithemily.com.